Hello, everyone. Welcome to A/B testing. We're so happy here. Was that too sudden for you, Bianca? You're muted. You muted yourself.
All right, let's restart.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to A/B testing.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Alex. Great to see you again. As if I don't see you almost every day of the week, you know? It's great.
But not everyone else gets to see us every day of the week.
Too. That is very true. Perspective. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone to A/B testing. We're happy to have you here. Truly.
We are. I just saw a chat thread in the behind the scenes. Bianca, are we chair twins now? Did you get an Aaron?
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. Fancy.
We are chair twins.
We're so fancy.
Twins. We're chair twins. I'm getting older, so like, you know, you gotta make sure you got good support.
A little lumbar support. Yeah, I feel you.
I also was just like, I needed to stop stealing my like dining room chair. So it was time.
Those aren't that comfortable after a while either.
At all. It makes sense that they're typically really just there for you know, what is
the hour you sit to eat or so.
Essentially. It's really, I feel like it's really there for like mild vibes, right? Like dinner, wrap it up. So yes.
Just mild. Only mild vibes though.
Only mild vibes. Question. Was the drop game rigged today?
I'm not the rigger. I did beat Stephen Nick by 0.02 points. So that's like, I think that's the closest to a photo finish we've had in a while. Got
it. You know, did Brent win?
I don't think Brent won any today.
Okay. I feel like he has to kind of push away the speculation.
He did not win once, but don't worry. Andrew's already calling it Dropgate. Welcome to our world.
Indeed.
Things
Okay, so
matter
Alex,
in life.
very important thing. But Alex, what should we expect today? On today's like, what's happening? Do you have an idea? Have you heard?
I do have an idea of what we're gonna do today, which I think is good, right? Given that we're here, but yeah, we've got a very special guest. Special guest. This SE, this Twilio SE, gave an epic presentation and demo at Signal with using Twilio video plus AI avatars to do some cool stuff. So in a moment, we're going to welcome on Twilio's very own Paul Heath. We're going to get to know him a little bit, and then we'll see the demo and learn how he built it. I'm pretty pumped. This was one of the talks that I was most excited for at Signal.
I thought what was funny with the AI avatar, so we had used Twilio video for one of our like activations. Also, if you haven't checked out our blog post about just kind of some of the Twilio arcade, do so. But what was so funny, people thought that the folks on the screen were avatars. We're like, no, they're DevNetters. But even just like kind of the rise of, you know, the avatar and folks kind of assuming that like, oh, this might not be a real person. So I think there's even it's interesting to kind of see that cultural shift already. Yeah. So
here, I'll post a link to that article. I'll also, if we want, in a little bit, we can also, I have a time lapse that we can pull up, but let's bring Paul. Paul, give me a thumbs up in the background if you're ready. Sweet. Paul, welcome to A/B testing, Paul. We're so happy to have you here.
I'm very happy to be here. It's a very unusual thing. I'm in front of people all the time, customers and so on. But this is a different kind of scenario, you know?
Yeah. No, this is good. We're excited that you're open to joining us. Just talking on the screen, vibes, you know,
just hanging out. Can you start by just introducing yourself in whatever way you want?
Sure. I'll give you the general spiel. My name is Paul Heath. I'm a solutions architect here at Twilio. I work in pre-sales or solutions engineering for Namer New Business Direct. I think as time goes on, those titles get smaller and smaller and smaller. I've been with Twilio around 5.5 years. I was at Oracle before Twilio. I was at a company called Verint before that, and I was an even smaller Scottish company here in the US before that. Been in the US for 13 years, from Scotland originally-ish, from a place called Glasgow, sort of. That's me.
Heard of it.
No, I definitely heard of it. I will say, okay, for the folks who don't know what an SC is, right? We're throwing out all these fun acronyms. Like, can you kind of explain, like, how would you describe an SC? And then also, where do you see the SC kind of fitting into the process, right? Like, in terms of how y'all are able to support customers, but even how y'all support a business. Curious.
Yeah, so SE, so Twilio is a very technical product. I think as we're moving forward, there's kind of been efforts to move away from that. And there's been some interesting kind of very opinionated things that have been built recently that have less and less technical stuff, right? But even they have this like little technical piece that customers need help with. And so where we fit in is me specifically as well, and my colleagues in the same team, we're in new business, so we're all about getting new customers. And that can be a mix of customers who already know what Twilio is, or customers who've never heard of us before. And so you bring us in to kind of help accelerate a sales deal, right? So we're tied to sales. We want to be able to sell the Twilio product. You bring us in because you want to get the customer from point A, not using Twilio, to point B, using Twilio. And we're there as a kind of catch-all across the vast Twilio APIs, right across the breadth of Twilio and all its products and all its compliance and rules and so on. You bring us in to kind of help guide customers to success. That's really the point. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Okay. I have another little question about this, because it's like, I think you're bringing in kind of this, like, the sales side, right? Like accelerating a business. I think if we were to go a little deeper there, like, what have you found is often the biggest friction, right? Like for a company to like kind of fully go all in on certain things. Like, kind of curious your lens there.
Yeah, how long have we got?
Yeah, we have a solid just shy of 2 hours, so you can go.
So I mean, without going into tons of detail, like there's a lot of challenges. Depending on what the customer wants to do. I'll give you an example. If it's SMS, which is like roughly 50% of all we sell, there's so much compliance now that becomes a major friction point. Like A2P 10DLC is just a bit of a minefield really for customers. And the whole kind of landscape is there's no standardization. So different numbers have different compliance and different lead times and different costs and so on. So that's one of them. Another one would be, we very much still live we need our customers to be builders, but we're kind of moving into a phase where we're not SaaS, and we never have been, but we sometimes move into customers who just know about SaaS and want SaaS. And it's, so how do we help with that, because we are incredibly customizable and configurable, and like, we're like a Lego set really, right? And a lot of customers love that, but then they're like, well, we've got no developers, so what do we do? And so with partners and so on, but there's always this kind of weird kind of expectation from the customer for it to just be there. You just switch a button and turn it on, and that can be a hard thing to get past sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll stop there because there's a whole lot more.
Yeah. We see that a lot because we work with a lot of self-service customers, and finding that balance of giving them enough information to get building, but not, building it for them is definitely a challenge. But we have our first audience question came in a few moments ago. This is a very deep one. Paul, I hope you can answer. Steven wants to know if it's Heath like a hedgerow or toffee.
Oh, right, like a Heath bar in the US, like a hedgerow. So back in the olden days, when we were looking at things and trying to figure out what to call people, it's Heath like a hedgerow.
Okay, cool. And where are you calling us from in the US?
Indiana, Northwest Indiana.
Nice.
So really near Chicago though. So most of my time in the US has been in Chicago, but I have children, and as they've got older, we've moved further. So I'm now in Northwest Indiana.
Nice. I grew up in Chicago too. So,
Oh, okay.
what are your feelings then? And there is a correct answer about ketchup on hot dogs.
Okay. So I allow it, but I also like mustard on hot dogs as well.
Okay, fine. I'll take it. Um, I had to drop that. It's the
No, I
Chicago
know.
thing.
What about cheese on popcorn, or more specifically, cheese and caramel on popcorn?
Oh, I mean, for special occasions.
Right.
For special occasions, and only in giant buckets.
Oh, it's got to be huge and from the airport.
Wow.
Or it's either from the airport or Michigan Avenue. This is a Garrett's popcorn reference. If anyone is curious.
Oh yes. I was like, we're asking all the hard hitting questions. Just kind of.
Well, I just had a colleague of mine Slack me saying ketchup belongs on hot dogs, so I think we've ignited a real kind of like debate here.
Yeah, just in these buckets. It's got to be a big bucket.
Yeah,
huge, massive.
They're just huge, and then they've got the little divider, so you kind of get all three. And if you want, you can mix them together: the regular, the caramel, and the cheese.
The cheese is something else as well. The cheese is kind of radioactive orange.
Oh yeah, it's like Cheetos level.
Yeah, it's very cheesy.
As Andrew the Canadian says, "Welcome to America."
Very American.
That's right.
No, I appreciate you sharing, Paul, because I think sometimes when folks create, products, they're like, great, my product's so great, it's just going to sell. And that's not how any of these things work. And I think sometimes we underestimate like what goes into making that connection for a user to kind of get the max value, right, from this thing that you've built. And whether it's a startup, whether it's a whoever, right, like how do you get that connection point? And sometimes people do need a little bit of help, or they need a little bit of clarity. So I think we can kind of underestimate, like, not everything is like super intuitive. So yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, if I was a startup, and I have thought about this question, how do you know that what you have built is worthwhile? Do people really want it? And I've kind of learned you can't be in a vacuum. You can't decide that, oh, I think this is great, because you might just be the only one. You have to, enable people. You have to talk to people. You have to, figure stuff out in a kind of group as opposed to by yourself. I think that's like, because I'm aware of like the dev evangelists, and I think, their role is awesome because you're there to kind of like, enable customers and show them the way. So I think it's a very good role too.
Yeah, that's definitely what we try to do. And I don't know if you realize this, but we're also, Bianca and I are two of the startup people on the evangelism team. And we both run startups, and getting validation is really hard. And you have to, there's so many examples of people thinking they have validation and not, or finding tricky ways to get it that actually work. But it can be a huge challenge.
Funny fact, I built a crawler for Reddit.
Okay.
And using their APIs to do it, it was totally legit. And I've still got it.
I love how you're like, it's legit.
No, it's legit. Yeah. I'm playing by the rules, right? So like, they'll throttle you if you don't. Anyway, right. And I found out that and I only wanted to keep it for the last 7 days. And every time I used it, the number one thing that people talk about that have gaps is PDFs. People want PDFs to be editable. And it's like, it's insane the amount of people that talk about it all the time. And it's like, I mean, it's a clear leader across like all the different other things that are there. Like AI isn't accurate enough and all that was like the kind of other stuff that was bubbling to the top. But editable PDFs, if someone can figure that out, they're going to make an absolute fortune.
I buy that. Although, isn't part of the point of a PDF that it's not editable?
That's the thing I think people forget, which is like, if you're going to use it for like a contract or something, I don't want that to be editable.
Right.
You know, like I need that, whatever it says there, I need it to not be changed.
Yeah.
So like it's tough because I think sometimes people don't understand like the intention behind like why a specific product decision was maybe made. And I also think people going into like companies have to think about all the edge cases, right? So you do have to think about the person that's going to edit maybe a will, maybe another random contract, right? So it's like, but the customer is not really thinking about that, right? Like a user is not always thinking about like all the ways in which people can push the system. So
right, yeah.
Okay.
I think. Sorry, that's a really good point. You know, because when I saw that problem, I was like, right, let's solve the problem without at all questioning it. You know, like I was like, wait a second. Now you've brought that up. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good point. You know what I mean? Will people actually buy this? You know, so yeah.
Yeah.
You're just mad. I've had to learn how to delineate between, is someone just annoyed or is this an actual problem? You can tell I have lots of nieces and nephews.
Yes.
So
I had such a clear example of that a few weeks ago. A book that I really liked got turned into a TV show, and I went to a friend's house to watch it with a bunch of people who were like really into the book, like had read it multiple times. Murderbot on Apple TV, if anyone's curious. And all these people were just yelling at the TV constantly because they're like, well, that's not how I imagined it. That's not how it's written. And I was like, yeah, but this is a TV show and there's producers trying to make this entertaining for everybody, not just you who's memorized every word of the show. And it was just this moment of like, oh, like stepping out and putting yourself in the shoes of why a technology works that way or why something was made this way. I don't think it's something we do that often. I think the more we do it, the better off we are. And as an SE, you have to do that all the time because you got to see what customers are doing, why they're doing it. Was the person me, Alex? It's okay. It's safe space. No, it wasn't. I thought the show was really well done. And I think being on this side of the camera a lot, I'm often sitting there and being like, oh, why did they make that production choice? So no, I was not that person yelling at the screen. That was somebody else. I actually asked them to turn on subtitles because they kept yelling.
Surprise. No, JK. No, that's real. And I think sometimes like as folks using things, we're like, I'm the only person that exists. Why? You know? Mm-hmm. So okay, so Paul, we've talked about SC-ness. Now we just want to get in your business because that's a natural place to go. Okay, so like, how did you get like here? Not just just like the journey.
On this planet?
Yeah, we're asking the big questions, but like I'm just kind of curious, like even this role as an SC, kind of even before then, right? Like how do you feel like that journey?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And I think here's the thing: you ask an SE, when did you decide to become an SE? And I bet you a single one of them won't be able to tell you. And I think the reason is because you kind of sort of fall into the role as opposed to actively seeking it out. I'm not saying that there are people who seek it out, and especially more recently, but personally, so here's my kind of very high level, right? I've always been into technology. I've always had that, that mind, and I'm sure there's a lot of us who play with Legos. I like Lego Technic because I like to be able to just make stuff with gears and engines and all sorts of stuff. I remember making like a 4-wheel drive attached to an engine Lego Technic thing that at the time in the 90s didn't really exist, so, and with suspension and steering and everything. So I was like really happy about that, and I've always liked, putting things together and just playing with stuff, and that extended to computing. And, I'm 45, right? So I've been around a while, and I was around at the kind of nascent time in computing technology, especially in the UK. Computing was big in the UK in the 80s. And I started playing with BASIC. And in the UK, we were actually encouraged to start programming and all that kind of stuff at an early age. And we had these things called BBC Micros. So they were kind of funded by the BBC, which is a big television broadcasting corporation in the UK. And there were these kind of like big monolithic boxes. And it was very, very old, and 80s-ish, right? Anyway, some of our classes had them in it, like computing did, obviously. We had physics, whatever. I remember, there you go, that's exactly it, yeah. Brings back real memories. And so BASIC was the main thing you would use on this, right? BBC BASIC was the actual flavor. So there's a lot of like go to line 10 and a lot of spaghetti code all over the place, right? Anyway, we had games and they were very blocky, kind of almost slightly better than ASCII, but not very good games, right? I remember being in a physics class and I was the only kid that was able to stop the game mid-game, pause it, open up its code and inject like bad words basically into it and get it running again. And I remember like the teacher coming back and was like, and he lost his mind. You know, this is the 80s, right? He lost his mind and he was like, who the F? Like, like, and it was like, you know, swear words everywhere floating around the screen. So I've always really liked technology. I think partly I'm a mischievous person and I always have been. And that just really kind of, you know, there was something about that. Anyway, long story short, I went to university twice. I partied too hard the first time, spent a little time out of it, and then went back and did computing at the University of Glasgow. Did that, became a software engineer. I was a software engineer for 2 years. Along the mischievous thing, I remember we created a CRM, so I had like a web UI in the back.
So mischievous, a CRM.
Oh no, yeah, but I love to do cross-script injection. So people were like testing it, and I would send them like off somewhere because I just injected some JavaScript into like the front end. I used to love doing stuff like that, you know. Or I once spoofed my email internally to make them think customers were like, you know, doing like severity 1 priority things for customers that didn't exist though, you know. Anyway, so yeah, I did that. The realization I had though is this mischievous thing kind of comes into it. I love talking to people, and you should probably can tell already.
Yeah,
I love talking, right? Being a software engineer doesn't really match being super talkative. Like I did a psychological test, yeah, disc profile test, DISC, dominant whatever it is, yeah. Your average software engineer was high SIC, so very, very, you know, focused, love attention to detail and so on. Whereas DNI, which was where I was at, was for like your average kind of very talkative, very kind of, you know, in front of a customer type person, right? So it was around then I kind of had that realization. An opportunity came up to go to the US as a technical trainer, right? So the software we made was so ridiculously difficult. We created a graphical programming language to do like business processes on top of it. So it was like a state machine, basically, Studio and steroids, right? Really, right? And you could do JavaScript and stuff in it, but it was all state-based. Anyway, it was so ridiculously hard though, because there was no real observability. You couldn't find anything. And extending classes was this really bizarre concept of like extending database configuration and all sorts of madness, right? It was just a nightmare. So they needed someone, and I helped build the thing, right? And they needed someone to go out to the States to teach people. And I was like, put my hand up, knowing, okay, I do like people. I like being in front of people. It doesn't super faze me, you know, like giving demonstrations or training or whatever. And it actually fell into it quite well. This is all leading somewhere, right? Basically, I did that for like a year or so, and then somebody in solution engineering or pre-sales at the company at the time saw me at one of our conferences that we did, and just kind of liked what they saw and said, "Hey, do you want to earn more money?" I was like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Come in," and that was how I started pre-sales, which was around 10, 11 years ago. So I've been in it a little while since then.
Nice. I feel like that's not that far from a lot of our journeys into developer relations.
Right.
And you even saying that reminds me of like at one of my first jobs, I was like working on a data center product. And at one point I don't remember why it was me, but they brought me in to like do the tour. And I I crushed it. Like I definitely like sold these guys because I was just able to nerd out about every little thing, and I loved talking to them about it and blah blah. And like maybe then I should have realized like, oh yeah, maybe an SE role would have been good for me. Instead, I went the product route for a little while, which was kind of stressful. But that's awesome. I love that you kind of like found a way to merge the extroversion and not extroversion necessarily, but like the enjoying talking to people with the technical stuff, because it is definitely a stereotype, and I don't think it's totally true. I think a lot of us are technical and like talking to people.
Mhm.
Again,
I also think
you
even
have
the
Deb.
role,
Yeah.
I also think even the connection to sales. So like, you know, I think that is always interesting, which is like, I think people think sales folks just exist in their own world, doing their own thing, and meh,
I'm not going
you
to
know.
whatsoever.
I mean, so I think, you know, you work with an interesting stakeholder, right? Like sales gets a lot of yeah. So I think even just having a bridge, right, between someone who is main goal and focus is to sell versus you who can kind of liaise with a customer and like
Yeah.
kind of you can, there's like a different thing, right? Because if I'm hyper focused on like make the sale versus like how is this experience, right? And I think like you can sell all you want, but the experience is what keeps people coming back and engaged.
So it's an interesting dynamic, because I think customers don't really realize actually we're selling too. And our goal is to sell because we're tied to it, right? It's partly how we earn our money, and to an extent, not quite like a salesperson, but we do.
Yeah.
And we partner with salespeople, or at least we're supposed to, right? And the ones that I work with that are really good, like partner very well, and they communicate very well, and we understand our role, and they know that I'm in this kind of position where generally we're viewed as not salespeople. We're the antithesis of it. So almost like, and I hate to say this, but it's known, customers kind of view us with slightly more trust half the time, because they know, at least in their head, we're not trying to pull a fast one. And I'm not saying we're ever really doing that, but my goal is to sell too. You know,
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic to have, and it works really well when you've got like an SE and an account exec working together, almost simpatico, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, when you said the whole like my goal is to sell too, I think about like when people are trying to sell in the worst places, it's like this is broken. Like I'm just thinking about like if someone came to you at a hospital of like, oh hey, by the way, do you want to get this? Do you want to buy this thing that could help you? I am in pain, or I need to tend to this first. And I think even this aspect of like a customer is not going to be focused on anything but unless so before we're definitely going to be doing a little building and showcasing, but I'm kind of curious, like beyond work, like what are you into? Like where's your time going?
Well, I've got 2 young children, so they're 7 and 4, and my time still is a lot going there. But as they're getting slightly older, I'm starting to eke back a little bit more time for myself. I used to be so I poured on a lot of weight since having children, but like I used to be like a road cyclist, and I used to race and stuff, you know. And coming from Scotland, I was really good on hills, you know. So I'm not saying I was never like right at the front, but I was up there. Like I was doing all right. I was definitely in like the main group, the main peloton, and always like managing to hold my own. You know, and doing like pretty crazy speeds over crazy long distances, and if there was hills, fantastic, because I could attack on a hill. Anyway, love cycling, still love watching it. Watch the Tour de France every year, really get into that. I would advise anyone who's maybe even doesn't know what I'm talking about. It's in July the 5th it starts. It's on Peacock or NBC Sports. And it's every day for 3 weeks, and it's the most insane competition in the world, where you have these individuals who work in teams together to basically race crazy distances over crazy terrain in France for the most part, every single day, with like 2 days off in the whole thing. And after it, they've cycled thousands of miles. It's insane. and they end up in Paris, and it's like a whole thing. I just really enjoy it, you know. So yeah, that's one of the things
I've definitely had stages, like there's definitely been times where I've watched it. It's been a while, but maybe I'll have to get back into it this summer. That's fun. We one of our regulars, Frackberg, is a cyclist and will actually stream himself cycling. So if you really enjoy this medium, you know, maybe you got to get back into it, streaming yourself, you know, cycling through the vast fields of
I live in Indiana, yeah.
I know. There's not a lot of hills. That's nice. Yeah. We had a question, which is is there a piece of biking gear that you recommend to anybody?
100%.
Yeah,
padded shorts.
Yes. Oh
100%. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I feel like that's what you might like not want to do because they look like tights, but
you have to forget that.
I know I've gotten back into biking like indoors, and I got myself padded shorts again because I was like, I need this.
Yeah, a little cushion.
Frackberg's recommending gloves too.
Yeah, gloves is good. Gloves will stop like you kind of get chafage on your gloves. I forget the name for some reason right now, but there's this wax that is good for chafing, and it's got this hilarious name that I can't remember it right now. But get that because if you're doing road cycling, the seat is so narrow, which is why you need like the padded shorts. But there's this wax that really helps with chafage. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Let's see if I'm Googling if I can find the name. There's Cyclo-Wax. That doesn't feel like it.
That's not it.
Okay. We'll find it. We'll get it.
Frackberg also mentioned mountain bike shorts. Yes, mountain bike shorts are great too.
Got it. Okay. Well, we'll definitely ask you more cycling questions at the end. But one of the things that I have more questions. One of the things we were curious about, which was an AI avatar. We had talks of said AI avatar. So I am kind of curious, Alex. I mean, you had told us about it, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tee you up a little bit here, Paul. Wait, do you want to do sponsored, not sponsored first, or should we dive into the demo?
Oh my gosh, totally forgot about that.
We were just talking about gear. So like
we did just talk about gear. So maybe in my brain I was like, oh, we've covered the gear.
Yeah.
We had a segment called Sponsored Not Sponsored. So we basically talk about because again, the only person sponsoring us is really Twilio. So we don't like to, sponsored but not sponsored. But yeah, I have something. You know me. I'm the queen of supplements.
What you got, Bianca?
Today we have Hemaplex Fee by New Medica. Nope. All right. Okay. Yep. So it's called Hemaplex Fee. It's great with vitamin B. Yep. Yes. Great for iron building. Has tons of B12, folate, B12 and folate. Check your numbers, people. Check your numbers. But yeah. So this is an iron supplement that I really like because it has a bunch of things. And then also, fun fact, to help your iron absorb better, it's good to have some vitamin C. So fun fact. So yeah, you know me. I'm going to either come to you with skincare or supplements.
You got it.
Clearly. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining my adventures. Oh, actually, no, the other thing I would add, yes, this e.l.f. lip gloss is it really me if I didn't invite both of those things? e.l.f. lip gloss, it's great. It adds a little shine. Yes.
This one with the little paddle?
It's the lip. Yeah, it's the lip oil. It's like divine wine. This one's the specific one. But yeah, it's never too late, Frackberg. Trust me, I got you. Just give me a few months. I'll get you some good exfoliants. I can give you a little regimen. So yeah. So those are the things that I got for y'all today. Paul,
what do you got for us, Paul?
Are there any specific brands?
So I remember the name of that brand for the stuff. It's called Chamois Butter. And it's
Chamois Butter?
BUTT''R. CHAMOIS. Butter.
I see it. Yeah. This stuff.
That's it. Yeah.
Jammy butter.
Not like garlic butter. Don't make that mistake.
Frackberg had
Jammy
found it.
butter is what you need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now we are learning. I'm telling you, our product stack, we're gonna be ready for anything in this life, you know?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No.
Okay, so if you're on long bike rides, is that what you want to share? Or do you have something else in mind too, Paul?
No, I mean that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Beautiful.
All right, Alex, what do you got for us?
I've got two. I've got one and a question. Okay.
Ooh.
Stephen Nick, by the way, dropping knowledge saying that we can put a soap bottle and an extension tube to hook it up to one of those big replacement soap bottles. That does sound like a good DIY soap dispenser, little pump thing. Anyways, I'm going to go with a book first. And I was thinking about what to do. And I kind of remembered that Andrew at Signal gave a talk where it was all like Hitchhiker's Guide themed. And I just want to recommend Douglas Adams' other book, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. I actually think the characters in this book are maybe my favorite, particularly Dirk Gently. It's this very out there detective. A great example is whenever he drives anywhere. There is also a TV show, with Elijah Wood. It's I've seen parts of it. Whenever this guy drives anywhere, he just follows someone who looks like they know where they're going. Like it's just like amazing, silly Douglas Adams comedy like that. I love Douglas Adams. So definitely go check that out. Even if Hitchhiker's Guide wasn't for you, I think that this might even hold up better, even though Hitchhiker's Guide's an institution. And then this next one is not a recommendation. I just saw this online and I was like, what is this? And I'm wondering if anyone has seen these or heard these. Teleprompter glasses. This is, I guess, people use them for like TED Talks and stuff, but it literally like projects into your field of view on the glasses and you can barely see it. So it looks like have your talk memorized. Chef Brent was just looking at these last night. I bet you Chef Brent and I both saw the same Instagram or YouTube reel that was talking about these things.
People know when you're reading from like a script, you can tell. So I don't know how useful that is,
Can you tell I feel like
yes.
Oh yeah.
Do all my videos look like I'm reading from a script all the time?
No, because you've done this so much. You know where the camera is. So
no, 100%. But what I'm trying to say is I think that if you have practiced enough, the teleprompt, like you learn how to read off a teleprompter so it doesn't feel like you're reading a script. I agree that's rehearsal prompt reading. That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have practice. Yeah.
So I think, but then this goes into the audience for the person getting those glasses. A person getting those glasses is probably not a practicer. They're probably a person who's like, I need my lens. So you got to understand your user, right?
Oh.
So that person who's using glasses, they're not trying to practice. They're trying to find the easiest ways to not.
I see this came across because the video that I watched, the short was titled, "Why Do All TED Talk Presenters Wear the Same Glasses?" No one's going into a TED Talk without rehearsing, and it has to be perfect, right? You've rehearsed it and close to memorized it probably, but like no one's going into a TED Talk with that audience and not rehearsing it. So I think there probably are people who use these without rehearsing, but I also think like I could see myself using them. I'd be really curious to see how my talks in person would go with these glasses, given how I read off of teleprompters. I don't know.
I'm just a little biased because part of speaking to people is to connect to people. And if I'm so focused on, I think for me, it's just like, does it create a barrier between you and the audience, or does it, like, are you still able to give them the connection? Because it doesn't want to seem like you're just like talking.
Brent's saying they're not just prompters. Using these as like a notification tool, I think would be miserable. I would hate that in my life. I would only use these for a prompter, but maybe I'll have to get a pair to experiment with. Okay. Because I'm curious about it, but I don't think I do. I think I do too much with my own prompter that's sitting right here. They're not cheap. They're not crazy expensive though.
How much are they?
They're how much are they? I think they start at like $5 or like
Store.
What do they start at?
Hit store.
Wait, where's the buy
Store.
Buy now.
Is up top.
I know there we go. See if that does it.
I was
600.
like,
That's expensive. That's not crazy.
I don't feel like that's like for something that has tech and teleprompterness. I don't feel like it's too bad.
Yeah. For a minute, I was like, oh, Father's Day special. And then it's like 50% off like clips and clip pouches. I was like, what? That doesn't help me buy these.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we know. Now we know.
So
right.
It could be interesting. Maybe one day when I go on a TED Talking circuit.
Yeah.
We'll look at that. But like, I don't know. I just saw those and was like, oh, I'm looking at 700 plus. Oh yeah. Cause I would also need prescriptions.
Okay, then I think
you gotta have some glasses.
The only thing would just be like the R. Yeah,
I actually have paid more than that for glasses too.
So I think it's just like the ROI, but I don't know. Everything is expensive, inflation.
Yeah,
it's just all the things. Okay, I see the vision. All right, so we got some good options for to add to your cart. We are not encouraging consumerism. Buy what you need.
Brent, why are we on the same page? So by the way, we had the whole little thing last week where my birthday's coming up and Bianca and Brent helped me pick a thing. And then I find out today that after that, Brent bought some of the stuff that we were talking about for me. So yeah, that's real. I'm sorry that I did that to you, Brent. Got you to buy that Remarkable. You have to let me know how it is.
Brent makes us
tip, you can put this through the FSA HSA, which is basically half off. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Great.
Anyways,
okay.
So Paul, at Signal, you did a presentation with Donald. So is Donald's from Ireland. You're from Scotland. Very different places, but right next to each other. Fun accent on that talk though. But you did one and you had created a AI avatar using Twilio, like with Twilio video powering the AI thing. So where do you want to start with that? I would love to like see a demo, or we can show a video, or you can share your screen and code. Where do you want to start?
Do you want to share the video I sent you?
Yeah.
And before we show it, I just tee it up a little bit. So what you're going to see in front of you is a photorealistic, meaning it looks like a person, AI avatar, and you can interact with it. So it can hear you. It will decide how to respond based on certain prompts that are given to it. So there's an AI LLM element to this as well. But there's a nuance to all this. I also injected emotion capture. So something you've got to understand about emotion and capturing it at different types of modality, right? So if you just take plain text like an SMS, right? It is incredibly hard to figure out what people call intents there, right? What is the intent or the emotional aspect of this? It's like, if you use the analogy of like you texting a friend, you can very easily get what they're saying incorrect because you interpret it one way and they're meaning it a different way. And that shows you that just text alone misses something, right? Now, the next step up from that is voice. So if you can capture tonality in voice, you do have that extra element. But again, there's still something missing because currently what happens is all of that audio is actually translated into text. And still you have the remaining problem of tonality. You lose it, right? Now, that might change with speech-to-speech models that are coming up. In fact, OpenAI has the real-time API, and they're kind of doing that already. And there's one or two others out there as well. Meta has their own. Anyway, they have like tonality in there, but it's still not like proper understanding of like what on earth is this person really meaning when they're saying something, right? So what video allows you to do is to capture that unspoken emotional capture from your face. Right now, it turns out my resting face is angry or confused. Right, so you'll see that in this particular example. I'll go from she actually calls out that I look angry, and I kind of get angrier because I'm like, what? Right. So the point of this is this is an example of a use case where there's something like this could be very useful. Healthcare in the US is very starved of staff, basically, or people, and nurses in particular have a lot of extra to do, a lot of bureaucratic just stuff that they have to do, which really could be freed up by AI. And with telehealth, you could inject something like this pretty easily. So the example you're going to see in front of you is a small health style pre-appointment thing where the health person is going to take some details from me, and I can answer any way I like, and she'll capture it. And then she summarizes, and this is all just to capture details prior to actually meeting with a medical professional. But during it, you'll see I do some kind of wild faces, right? And it's on purpose for the demo. And she sort of picks up on like whether I'm happy, sad, confused, mainly confused and angry. So if you want to play it and make sure like the audio is up, I guess.
Yeah, it should be. Chat, let me know if the audio's not there, but I think the audio should work here. There's no audio yet, right?
No, it's just the pre-waiting room.
Hi, my name is Anne, and I am a virtual assistant. What brings you in today?
Hi, Anne. Yeah, I have a sore throat.
I'm sorry you're not feeling well. You seem angry right now. The next available doctor will be with you in about 20 minutes. While we wait, let's go through a few quick questions so I can prepare a clear summary for the doctor. Can you tell me what symptoms you're experiencing?
Yeah, my throat is a little sore and I'm a little hot.
Got it. When did these symptoms begin?
Yesterday.
Understood. Have you noticed any fever or chills?
I noticed a fever.
Got it. Any headaches, congestion, or trouble breathing?
Some headache.
I can tell you're feeling angry. That must be tough. Here's what I'll share with the doctor. Your sore throat and fever started yesterday, and you've also been experiencing headaches. Before I let the doctor in, can you confirm that Aetna is still your insurance provider?
Yeah, that's still my insurance.
The doctor is ready to see you now. You look a bit more at ease, wishing you a speedy recovery.
That's great. Thank you, Anne.
And that's it. And actually, you know, I'm willing to kind of even try a live one where we can talk to a sarcastic Santa if you want.
I mean, I'm not going to say no to that.
So I need you guys to go on mute for it.
Okay.
Just in case, because there is a way to kind of mitigate this, but I still don't have it yet. But it'll pick up stuff from the background, and it can.
Yeah, that was really funny. How, I mean, you clearly told the prompt, you're like, acknowledge someone's emotions, and then they were just like, I can tell you're still angry. Are you angry?
Very angry. But I think the thing with the anger, because so one thing I could see that being useful, even on the data side of just like, even if they don't acknowledge it on the call, like if every customer that is dealing with a particular nurse or a particular, you know, whomever, right? Like they're always super frustrated, right? Versus a particular nurse might always get people pleasant at the end. So I think even that being a tool for like training or what have you, I think there's so many opportunities of just like whether that data is communicated back to the, you know, back to the person or not. I will say, I was like, I wouldn't be a great person because I always look like I'm just my forever face. Excuse me. So yes, no, that's real. That's real.
I do understand because I really had to try hard to smile right at the end. So like, you know, I was like,
I think that the beard makes us always look a little angry. It's like the shape of it kind of like is a little frowny, maybe that's what it is.
I like to think sage and interesting.
I mean, I think that too, but
I
AI,
used to think
you know,
Alex is way more serious. And then I've done so many streams and I was like, you are a very unserious man.
yeah, it's hard
So
for me
yeah,
to be serious.
it's real. Yeah, it was like the beard did throw me off. You know what I mean? So yeah, even with you, Paul, I was like, when you like mischievous, I was like, no, I thought you were a serious professor, you know, in my mind. And meanwhile, you're like,
It's a
it all made
facade,
sense.
Bianca. It's a facade.
It is, you know, it all made sense. Now I realize why you said with the Reddit stuff. You're like, no, I followed the rules there. I was like, everything makes sense. It all got full circle. I was just like, you know. But anyways, okay. So you said sarcastic Santa.
Mhm.
We'll just need to be on mute for you.
Yeah. So now, yeah, just rules are there for not all rules, but some rules are there to be bent. You know what I mean? Or broken sometimes. Depends what they are. All right. Can I go ahead and present?
Yeah, go ahead and yeah, you can just add your screen. There's a little button at the bottom, and then I'll pull it up once you get it up there, and you can tell me when you're ready.
Let's try this one. Okay, and then I'm gonna go over here. Can you see this?
Yeah, I'll bring it onto stage. Oh, hold
So
on.
I'm bringing the actual app up. So
Oh, I gotta remove that. Okay.
if anyone's actually interested,
Would you,
I'm gonna bring up
yeah, you might need to like make your screen bigger or make the window you're sharing smaller so we can see it. It's pretty. You got that ultra wide.
Yeah, I do. Okay, give me a second. Displays. Let's see. Hopefully this won't break everything. Let's go down to this. Can you see that? Is that better?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Okay, and let's just reload there, I think. Hang on. Okay, we'll go with this, see if that works.
Okay.
So, by the way, just before we go, we're in the kind of waiting room where you get to choose like a use case. There's a bunch of there. There's one called Meebot. I cloned myself. And there's something up with the sound, and I'm still talking to HeyGen, who are the avatar people. But my plan was to start inserting this guy into my team meetings, just to see, like, if anyone would notice. Anyway, we've got some very serious ones. We've got Sarcastic Santa, which is one of my favorites, actually. On the right-hand side, I brought up DevTools, so you can see there's going to be like a ton of logging going on. And you'll see from this that it's capturing my emotions in real time, like every second. And I'll get more onto that.
Nice. Would you actually be able to do Control Plus once on the console? Just maybe make it a little bigger. Oh, I don't know if that's making the console bigger.
It is.
That's good. That's great. Perfect. Sweet.
What's actually interesting with the different prompts, I could see like this feels like it would be a cool like party or thing with friends of just like you having to write your own friends' prompt. Like if you had to create a prompt for your friend, and then they could do like an AI avatar. This could be a whole.
Sounds like a party game for sure. Well, let's get on it.
Yeah, it could. It'll be a thing. It'll be a thing.
All right, we can mute now and let you do it.
Okay, it won't be super long, but we'll talk about the Elf Uprising or something like that. So there we go.
We actually don't have your audio.
You don't? Oh, that's a shame. That's a real shame. Yeah, I'll how do I stop sharing this? Actually, that's a good point. Can you guys stop the sharing? That's annoying. Maybe I'll do like a video or something some other time for it. But Sarcastic Santa is really cool because he is sort of incredibly sarcastic. He doesn't care. You ask him if you've been like a good boy or a good girl for Christmas, and he starts going off in a kind of tirade about how bad you were and how little he cares. You know what I mean? But it's a real shame unless there's a way to inject the sound into it through the presenting. I can't hear any of you guys now. That's weird.
I still muted myself. That was my bad.
Their producer.
Yeah.
There are options to share audio when you go into present. Depending on which thing you select, some of them have audio, some of them don't. There should be a checkbox.
You have to share you have to share your tab specifically.
Yeah.
Oh, is it the tab? Okay, let me.
And there we go on more video avatars from Brent.
Yeah, I mean, well, we can't talk about avatars and then not have me pop in with my avatar. Seems, reasonable. I'm just a little thirsty though. So
Yeah. But Brent's,
mine can drink water, so
I mean this is a hyper realistic version of Brent if you haven't met Brent in person.
If you're happy and you know it, press happy. If you're sad and you know it, press sad. All right, I'm out.
Okay, can you guys see this?
Yes, now we got this.
Okay, let's try again. If we go on mute now.
Ho, ho, ho. How are you?
I'm good, Santa. How are you?
Oh, just perpetually buried in wish lists and fake snow. But enough about me. When you're riveting.
That's a shame, Santa. Can you tell me about the elf uprising?
Oh, alpha pricing. Yes. That's the pricing for people who want to be alpha, I suppose.
No alpha.
Or maybe it's just the first pricing tier. Oh, so we're done with that alpha business then? Good, because I never really knew what it was in the first place.
Tell me about the elf uprising.
The elf uprising, you say? Are we talking insubordinate toy making or a rebellion against candy cane quota?
The rebellion.
Ah, the rebellion. Yes, the elves were really quite tired of those relentless demands for perfect stocking.
I've got to go now, Santa.
Well, the reindeer are always ready for some thrilling conversation, I'm sure.
And there you go. Super quick.
That was tons of fun.
It's also like, I think what's so cool is just like, we're just getting started with a lot of these things. So I'm like, I think even just kind of what's possible, right? Like if this is like an early iteration of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm curious if we can go, are we gonna be able to go behind the hood? Like
Yeah, I would love to hear how you
Under
built
the-
this.
under the hood and kind of see what was going on through your brain. And
So,
yeah,
there's a lot going on there because you have to handle all sorts of things, especially. So you guys must be aware or familiar with Conversation Relay, right?
Yes, we've had some people come on and talk about Conversation Relay on the show. We've done demos. I've built stuff with it. So yeah.
Yeah. So this very much takes a lot of that from Conversation Relay. So you have to do like conversational history. You have to inject that. You have to stream the text from the LLM to whatever you're getting to talk because it's just a much more fluid experience. I mean, when I started this, I did chat completions and it was very stunted. So you have to start streaming that, and it starts getting like hyper complicated, especially. And I'm already going off at a tangent, but like I started off with Next.js, and because that's server-side rendering, it's hard. And there is ways to do it, and I eventually did it, but it's hard to do streaming from chat completion LLMs when you're calling an API service on Next.js. But you can do it, but it took many iterations to just get that working. And there's all sorts of weird and wonderful things going on, but large chunks of Conversation Relay, although I didn't use Conversation Relay because I wanted latency to be incredibly low, so I'm doing a lot of WebRTC stuff. Can you bring the blog up? Are you able to bring
I just shared the blog, but let me just pull it up really quick.
Oh. Yeah. So if you scroll down a little bit, there's like a diagram. Yeah, there's like a diagram down, and there you go. There's a very high level, not overly accurate diagram of like what's going on with this. Is there a way to kind of zoom in on it? It's a little pixely.
It looks good on my screen, but
yeah, I mean that'll do. So top half, bottom half. Top half is kind of like the Next.js pages, right? So the Next.js framework is just a framework to really do web apps basically easily. and it does like a load of stuff for you for like routing and API calls and all that stuff. But the paradigm is server-side rendering. So you typically want to have everything rendered pre-UI, right? But I'm, just to make life extra difficult, I'm using React with this and React Bootstrap. So I ran into an awful lot of what they call hydration errors, which is mismatches between the UI and the server-side rendering. Anyway, the server-side UI piece. Now, I made a major design decision right at the beginning, is I needed the UI to be heavily decoupled from what's going on in the backend.
Mhm.
So I decided to extend the event emitter class in Node.js. Oh, by the way, everything here is written in TypeScript just because I wanted to be extra difficult for myself. Actually, it was a very good exercise because I just got incredibly used to TypeScript after all this, because there's like about 6 months worth of code in here. Anyway, the event emitter class, I overrode it or extended it basically to do some like communication back and forth effectively between the UI layer and the backend, right? Each thing I set up as what I call a service. So there's an avatar service, there's a speech to text service, there's a LLM service, there's the DeepGram service, although I think I gave it another name. And there's a bunch of other services that are kind of hidden because they're doing things like session management and conversation history. Caveat with conversation history, and because I'm using Next.js, because the line between server and UI is so heavily blurred with Next.js, and this is why at the end I was like, why did I do it this way? I couldn't just create like a map or an array or whatever and store conversation history there, right? It was impossible in this because it would get refreshed all the time.
Yeah.
Forever, it's stateless, right? So I ended up having to use Upstash Redis, which was actually really cool, like amazingly fast.
Yeah.
I also used another backend logging system called Sentry, which was kind of cool. It was able to kind of replay whenever things were going wrong when people were using it, which was kind of nice as well, but heavily expensive, so I turned it off basically.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of like super high level how that all kind of works.
So
basically, the UI drives what's going to happen. Events get passed back and forth between all the services to make that happen, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. Bianca, if you go back up to the diagram, I'm curious. So on the AI side, you were passing it the speech to text to DeepGram, the text to OpenAI, and then through HeyGen to get the video back that you were streaming through.
Yeah.
Where did you how did you do the face emotion recognition?
So this is the funny part. I've got to create another blog that extends this one. I created another blog ages ago where I just captured emotion using AWS recognition. So REKOGNITION. It's an older AWS library where if you send it images, it will tell you things, and one of them's being facial emotions, right? So there is. And basically, it does it. It's pretty straightforward. You just capture a screen blob every second and send it to the API, and you'll get a response back saying, was it happy, sad, whatever. You can also check for other stuff like, was there like weapons in the picture, or is the person nude? All sorts of stuff like that. I didn't think that was ideal for what I wanted to show, but like,
but would have been great if they were doing that on what was that one, Chat Roulette?
Oh my gosh, no! But even going back into how we build things. So like someone at Zoom was probably not thinking, right? Like, oh, I should consider chaos. So even these kind of edge cases of how we design, and I think it's interesting that you would bring this up even in the AI context. I actually think within the AI context, it is so important to kind of consider these, you know, these lovely edge cases where it's like, oh, consider this, but also consider that too. And just especially since you won't necessarily always have a human there, right? Like kind of looking at the experience. So it's a good reminder.
Well, I wanted to do spooky stuff, like get it to say, "Hey, can you turn your camera on?" Or what was really cool is we could get them to ask how you feel, and then see if you're lying, and then get it to tell you that you're lying, which I think would be like insanely kind of spooky, you know. I only want to do that for pure, again, mischievous reasons, like to scare people.
That's true.
You know, there was no like actual use case that really requires that, but I think it's just kind of cool.
Just, you know, we always have to add some vibes somewhere,
Right.
you know.
Always.
Yeah. Important.
So funny, Paul Camp showed me a thing literally like a week after all of this in Signal, and there's a new model out that can, and it's an embedded model, so you embed it I think client side. I need to double check that. Anyway, it can tell what generally anything is in an image, right? So it could, like, if you had a piece of paper, you could say, what's written on this piece of paper, and it will tell you, or what is that person wearing, and it'll tell you, you know. So you could like really strap some like rockets on this thing and make it like insanely good at detecting what's going on. And the whole point is, and the actual use case, because it's all very well, I think people get used to talking to an AI bot easily, right? And it becomes like nobody cares, you know. The actual use of all this is the underlying pieces, and that is capturing context at every second.
Yeah.
You're giving me ideas for, because you talk about being spooky and weird, for Halloween. 2 years ago, so this is before Conversation Relay was a thing. When it was right before Charlie Weems even built that Call GPT. He's another SE. I built something similar for my house. I dressed my house up to look like a giant monster, and I had a phone number you could call and talk to my house. And it, you know, used OpenAI and 11 Labs and didn't have any interruption handling. I'm excited to redo it at some point with Conversation Relay. But I love the idea of putting a camera in my front yard, and as people call, it can like be like, "Oh, are you the person in the dragon costume?" Like that would be so cool and creepy.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
and you can do it. It's already there. You just got to
very creepy, very cool, very creepy and cool.
I think that maybe I'll have to do that. So Paul, I might be bringing you back on before Halloween to make sure fun.
Very important. Okay.
How, you said this took you, how long did it take you to make this? Because it seems like a lot of work.
This was actually iteration free. So the very first one was a very quick kind of make this work. You know, I wanted to see if the avatar, I could shove the avatar into Twilio video and just quickly pick up text and see what I could do and make it talk. And I did. I was like, that's great. I came up with a second iteration where I didn't really think about Twilio video at all until the last moment. And because of that, it meant I ended up doing some weird, funky things. So I started again, and I came up with this third iteration, which is this bigger, broader thing. And it just kind of gained mass as it went on because, you know, the blog started happening, and then marketing kind of like started talking to me about it. And it was like, oh crap, people are like looking at this, so I have to make it actually robust, you know, and robust means a lot of extra work, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's basically what I did. I learned an awful lot doing this, an awful lot. In fact, I'm so glad I did this personally, you know. It was a massive learning experience for me, you know. And I just generally benefited from this in many, many, many ways, you know. Yeah, it was huge, and it could grow legs and become even bigger, I'm sure.
I'm looking through the blog post, and there's just so much. There's so many different Twilio products you use. Like, you didn't just use video, or like copy the Conversation Relay architecture. You also used Verify, Sync. Was there anything you used stuff beyond Twilio too? You used HeyGen, things like that. Was there anything that surprised you with how easy it was? Like you thought something was going to be a big deal, and then you like found this product, Twilio or not, and it was just like, oh no, this just works.
So I mean, Twilio, I didn't have any issues with because I've been dealing with it for 5 minutes.
I'd hope.
So I knew how it worked, and I could ramp it up real quickly. There was an instance where I before I went to Upstash Redis, I tried with Sync. I knew it might not be fast enough, and I was right. It was too slow. But it was Sync is an often forgotten product. In this example, I use Sync to keep a list of telephone numbers that are allowed to enter this thing. So the demo I just showed you with the Santa, I switched it off. But when it's properly live, because I don't want just anybody coming in, there's a Sync map store with my number, and I think only at the moment Donald is the only other person who's in it. So if you don't have those and you go through Verify, you can go through Verify and authenticate that you are the owner of this phone, right? But if you don't have the in-chain sync, you won't get access.
Nice.
That's a nice, quick, kind of easy way to kind of do authentication, basically.
Yeah, I need to. I have a whole like trivia app that I built with Twilio stuff, and I need to add Verify and Sync into it so that we can get a little more info from people. But that's kind of down the road. I've wanted to do that and haven't yet.
I will say non-Twilio, Fly.io is amazing. I love Fly.
And what was that for?
It's for deploying.
Okay.
So it lives out there. You can. So it's basically virtual machines.
Okay, I think we've come across this before.
Yeah, and you just create a YAML script basically that says what kind of machine you want where, and you deploy it. Off it goes. You got to create a Docker file in order for it to build. But once you got that up and running, it just works and it's great. And you can scale up and down and do all sorts of stuff very easily via command line, which is nice. It's great for like developers as well, like me, because you get like a free tier that's pretty useful. I just love it. It's great.
It reminds me back in the day of Heroku. I used that to like build all my public apps at one point.
Yeah, I think it's a little better than Heroku.
Yeah, Heroku was great in the mid 2000s.
Salesforce bought Heroku.
Yeah, I think Heroku's not its own thing anymore.
Nah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of tools that we've heard like this. It makes sense. Like you got to make this as commoditized as possible and easy to use. And then I think there's like a couple of these similar like quick deploy tools, and I'm sure depending on what stack you're using or what you're used to or how you're used to doing it, all of them are a little different. Because I know like Andrew's brought up a few before. We've had a few different options there. So you gave this talk with Donald at Signal, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
What was the reception? How did it go? What were people thinking?
We prepared, right? Because we knew the thing that was foremost in our head was two things: noise and latency.
Yeah.
Right. We're in the middle of a weird part of a hotel, right, where we weren't sure if the Wi-Fi was good enough, and there was just a ton of noise. On the morning of the demo, we went early, and there was somebody vacuuming. I know this is great. It was a vacuum test. We're like, right, cool. We just tested against it. Everything worked. It was like brilliant. It even caught the fear in my face because I was starting to get kind of nervous, right? And I was like, that's amazing, right? So wonderful, all worked. When we came back to it, the AV stuff, none of it worked properly.
I had that problem too.
All over the place. Sound wouldn't work. It was just a bit of a nightmare. Our talk was meant to start, but because of the AV issues, it pushed it out by like 20 minutes. And I was steadily getting more kind of like, my blood was starting to boil a little bit because it's like everything had kind of led to this point, and it was AV issues. I was like, why AV? Damn you. Anyway, this had like the weird effect of like drawing a crowd. So like the really odd part was typically there'd be like seating, right? So that was full. And then this sort of crowd of people started gathering, and then it sort of hit critical mass, and I'm sure just people didn't even know what was happening, and this just started joining the crowd anyway. It's also had the effect of making me kind of, I'm always a little nervous being in front of people, but in a good way. It's like very kind of
excited.
It makes me feel good, but very kind of bouncy. for a way to put it. Anyway, so I had that, right? And because this is all about emotions, it's like the stars or planets aligned. Because when we got into it, there was like things that Donna were saying about capturing emotion, and I had to kind of ham it up a bit, and I got a laugh. And then we went into the demo, and there was like some laughs here and there of like the stupid faces I was pulling, and I'm sure I said a bunch of stuff that I can't remember anymore because it all kind of went by in a blur. But yeah, I said to my manager at the time, I said the way that I gauge these things is like, did I get a laugh? Like, was there that kind of interaction? And it was plenty, so I felt like it was a success. And there were like people coming up to me, talking to me about actual business use cases afterwards as well. So all in all, I couldn't have asked for more. It went really well, and it was wonderful partnering with Donald. Donald was a fantastic, partner to do this with. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Nice. It's so fun. I feel like I'm like looking through something right now because I feel like I might have taken a video while you were doing yours, but I can't remember.
I feel like I remember you sitting in the audience actually.
I'm gonna be honest.
Do you know why I remember?
Watch any talks.
Oh really? It's because I blamed something on Donald, and I think it was you that laughed.
Wait. I think this might be you. Hold on. Let me get this ready and share my screen. I think I might have randomly been walking around with my camera while you were presenting, but I'm not sure. So let's
Moment
see.
of truth.
Moment of truth. I feel like this might be you guys.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't quite have it on.
Is it the AV issues, I think? Right. Oh no, we're talking. Okay.
Yeah, you got Anthony in the background, but yeah, this is Don. I recognize Donald. You were in the black, and yeah, so this is a fun 3D video, so you can see that crowd. Look at that.
Well, some of them are like looking at their watch. Clearly, it's going on too long.
She's a Twillion, and she was working those booths, and she was probably trying to figure out if she had to go work again. But I just called her out, so I hope she doesn't get too mad. You got Sarah watching. I can tell from the back. Yeah. So I guess I happened to be walking around and taking a video while you did that.
Yeah, it was. It was good. Enjoyed it.
There you go. So
it was funny because there was so much prep for like 10 minutes.
I know.
Just a 10-minute talk.
The 10-minute talk was a little deceiving because I was like, wait, I got to get through this all in 10 minutes. And I was fast. I also, I was talking to some people at presentation. I had 30 slides for my 10-minute talk.
Wow. That's a lot.
But like the slides were like constantly moving. It was like a part of the gag. But yeah, well, yeah, there's you in person. The other cool video that I'll share is wait, is it this one? Yeah, this is cool.
Arcade,
yeah, I'll just share this and let it go. Yeah, this is the
time lapse.
This is the time lapse of the arcade. So you'll see two booths and like whoopsies. This booth, I don't stop moving. Oh, I know why it's moving. It's because I had told it to move. It'll just do its thing. So this arcade right here was that was a voice AI one where you picked up a phone and you got to talk. And then this one right here, you would create your own AI assistant, which is pretty cool. And then behind us right now, which you'll see when we do another rotation, was the photo booth where a bunch of people thought that it was an AI avatar, but it was actually a person. But we need to make that photo booth work with it. Back here, we need to make the photo booth work with an avatar. As you can see me chat.
Did you hear about that company recently, an AI company? It's collapsed now, but they claimed that they would do like AI coding, but what was really happening was they're just sending it back to a bunch of developers.
Yeah, I heard about that today because it was it build. It was a Fireship video. I don't know if that's how you learned about it. If you're a Fireship fan, Fireship made a video about it, and it was I want to say it was like build.io or something like that. But yeah, it was supposedly full vibe coding, and you could just vibe code it. But it turned out in the background they had like teams and teams of developers in India just like checking the code to make it work, which isn't actually why they collapsed. They collapsed because they were committing fraud in other ways. But kind of goes to show.
It's just very funny to me. I think like it's just highly amusing that they actually just use real people.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. The thing with the thing I was starting to see at the photo booth, there were some of the dev noters. I had to be like, stop talking to the participants, because like you get into a booth and you're like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? So like even just like the prompts, knowing that like people might want to engage in deep conversation with you, and like we got like emphasize speed and urgency. So I was like, oh boy, the fun times. Okay, so I have a question for you, Paul. I think, as a lot of people are just like, playing around with tools and they're bringing it all together, I think, what advice do you have people when they're starting kind of to map out a project, right? But then also, and then at the tail ends, like, how do you think about like, okay, how much more do I need to layer this? Because not everyone will have the pressures of a lovely marketing team to be like, can you add this? Can you add this too? So I think for the self-directed folks, just kind of curious, how are you mapping this out? And then also, how do you find yourself like layering and taking it up a notch?
So I honestly, I think the key really is to test stuff out first, right? Just and this is how I work, right? I just think of something and go, right, can I make that work? And I don't really care how beautiful the code is, or even how beautifully architected it is. I just want to see. And it's kind of a bit of learning. I want to know the mechanics of whatever it is I'm trying to understand or make work. Like for this example, I was like, I really want to know if I can, have a photo. Is there such a thing as a photorealistic AI avatar? At the time when I thought that, I was like, I don't even know. And I was like, if there is, I wonder if I could make that work. And so I did a little research, found one, HeyGen in this case. And then the next step was like, right, okay, so that is a thing. Can I make it work with something like Twilio Video? And if that's the case, I need to know WebRTC has to be a thing here. And it just so happened that HeyGen did. And then by pure luck, because I primarily used Node, right? And now TypeScript is a flavor of that. And then I was like, does it support Node? And actually it had an example of using Node.js with it to just sort of start an example app. So I sort of started there. And really all that's happening is you're asking questions and you test it out and you answer it, right? And you iterate. So iteration is the key, but the iteration is the building up of things. I don't think you can really build a product like that. You have to have a kind of clear vision for a product. And usually that's from like a clear use case, a clear need from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking to do that, you have to be certain that one, people are going to want it, and two, what is it that they want, right? It's not usually the same thing, but iteration is absolutely key. Do small incremental steps. Don't go crazy and build everything all at once. Do a step, figure out if it works, see if people like it or think, is that good or bad? Take that feedback and continue and iterate, and then if you do that, I believe if you do that, you'll come up with something.
I added this to the chat, but I like this, even that reminder of looking at it in a very scientific way, right? Which is like, at the end of the day, you're just testing, right? Like you have this idea of like how this is going to work. And yes, we've done these things over and over and over again, but I think even just having that energy of like, this is how I think this will work. And what are the tools that might help that? So I do like that aspect of just like, really, how can I answer my question through code, right? Like, how can I bring this to life? Because you can use a lot of different tools to make something happen. So I appreciated just even that reminder on how we're building, right? So yeah.
It's kind of like Lego, really. It really, really is. It's like, take these pieces and put them together and see what comes out at the end of it, basically. And for me, I get this feeling of, I don't know what it is. It's like accomplishment, but it's very short lived because then I'm like, oh, whoa, there's something else. Oh, yeah, I had that. I had one of those. Were you?
I still have my reindeer from Team Rotary. Shout out to Team Rotary.
Yeah, I have that.
It was fun. This one was very like deep trust because I was like, we didn't like. There was one of them we had to like pop. What is it? Someone else had to give us the instructions. Yeah,
that's right.
Alex, you're hard muted, Alex.
Yeah,
you had to give instructions without showing any pictures. Actually, that brings me to a really good point. Your kids are at the age where they're probably playing with Legos. Have you had like a re-emergence in your life of Legos?
So actually, it's Minecraft with the oldest, and sad but true. I played Minecraft 10 years ago, and up until he was about 5, played it up until then. So I kind of know it really well, and so I was able to play with him. We've got a world where we've created so much that we daren't ever get rid of it because there was so much time invested in it, and we've created like dungeons and like castles and even working redstone as well, which is like basically kind of elementary kind of electronics for like Minecraft basically.
Nice.
So there's a lot of logic to it, and he's learning that too. So it's very, he's got an element that I had as a kid where it's very much like want to build and see, and I really enjoy that element with my children. My daughter's a little different. She's only 4 and she likes coloring, so we do that.
I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, so I get that more.
Yeah. It's that or Blippi, if you know what I mean. So,
I know Blippi. Don't.
I think we all do,
Yeah, right there with you on that one.
What about you, Bianca? You mentioned nieces and nephews. Have you got like?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like I've been advised strongly by their parents at times, don't give them toys that we will trip over. So at times they've left that alone. Let's see. My niece, she's like written a book. Her and her mom wrote a book. I'm like,
that's cool.
Just do your thing, girl. So yeah, I do find like there's just like a curiosity. I think my nephew's definitely big on just video games, so that's been a thing. I think what's cool is even kids, I'm just very curious, right? Like how kids will embrace all of this technology, what will stick for them, what will not, like, even this aspect of just like creating your own world virtually, right? And just like, what does that look like? I think different generations, like, not super young, but like, different generations, we've had different relationships to technology, from both like an entertainment perspective, but also just like life. So I think it'll be interesting, like how kids choose to flow,
The only thing I hope they don't take up is social media. I firmly believe social media has to die. It's really, really a bad thing, And I heard a thing like the new Xennials, is it? I can't remember. Or Zennials. None of them are doing social media, so that gives me hope.
I think people underestimate. I think with social media.
Good luck.
Okay, so I think with social media, it's that I think people don't like. I do think social media should have age requirements. Like I think honestly, even for age requirements, a mental fitness test, like this is a very strong and powerful tool.
You can only use social media if you get it signed off by your psychiatrist.
Literally, psychiatrists. Honestly, we might even need social media like school training certification. What were you gonna say, Paul?
So I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, I think there's an edge case for. I don't like post about my life anymore. I remember there was a time when I used to do that, and I used to get, oh, wow, somebody liked it. I don't even care anymore. And maybe that's just getting older. I don't know, or maybe I don't think anybody really does that so much anymore. All I do is I have these like group chats with my male friends, and it's just dank memes, constantly dank memes at each other, abusive as hell, but just together, and we know it's abusive, so it's all right. I mean, those are actually fine. Yeah. And I was like, right there. There's a market for that.
Well, I mean, a lot of people say that the new social media is the group chat.
So I have this running joke with my friends. We basically, social media has become my messaging tool. So like it literally just collects, because like text message is where I talk serious business, serious. Where am I going to meet you here? And then, then you have on the other platforms, like you said, I just send you memes. Like we don't need words. We just need memes and reels and just randomness. So then it becomes like a collection of my memes. And then but then sometimes though, then if we're on multiple, I've literally have sent my friends, we'd be talking on all 3 platforms at the same time. It doesn't make sense. No, it's just different channels. You got different. Yeah.
So the Instagram algorithm doesn't really know who I am anymore because of those dank memes, because they're just like sending the most abusive stuff to each other. It's like ridiculous content, and it's like, it's bad. And it's like, now my Instagram feed is people I know and just this weird crap that I would never normally have anything to do with. But usually it's fodder, because I'm like, oh wait, that's my friend Bob. And so I send it to the group.
Yeah, you can actually reset your Instagram algorithm now, which is interesting, but probably a learning curve there. You reminded me of something that I remember Rashab, one of our fellow evangelists, told us, where he and his wife would just send memes back and forth. So they stopped doing that, and then at the end of their day would just like sit together and share the memes that they had saved for each other, and so they could like see each other's reactions in real time. I thought that was super cute.
That's very sweet. That's very sweet.
I mean, it also is just like, memes, it just takes you on a fun journey. And then also, I don't want memes in my text messages. Like it ruins the vibe. You know what I mean? Like until iOS is like, here's your meme folder, like photos, memes, like tag this as a meme. That is where I want my innovation to go. Okay.
I feel like I heard the other day, because I love AI, right? So I've kind of immersed myself, and I heard somebody talking. They think AI is going to remove smartphones. Like smartphones are going to die because the way that we consume stuff is going to change so fundamentally because of AI, that we won't need to sit and look on a phone anymore. And I honestly think that actually might be a good thing. Like I find myself on my phone too often, and it doesn't make me feel good. Actually, I'm like chasing dopamine, I suppose, but like I'm wasting so much time like doom scrolling and so on, or dank memeing. Although the dank memeing is kind of fun, but like the rest of it is like meaningless content just constantly spewing to me.
I think it's oh man. Oh,
I was gonna say that's what the vision of the Apple Watch was. It was, we're gonna put just what you need on your phone, so you don't need on your watch, so you don't need to look at your phone as much anymore. I don't know if that worked or not. But yeah, I think we're such visual people that it's going to be really hard to truly take away that visual element. But maybe, you think about like when we were growing up, there was a computer in a room, or there was a TV in a specific room, and that's where you watched it. And now we like walk around with these things and it's everywhere, and there's no limits. Maybe it goes back to that. Maybe that's okay, where it's like there's a space.
I've got a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Right? And Bianca, I don't think you're this old, right? Do you pre-internet? So pre-internet, I remember.
Okay.
Right? Do you remember being bored?
All the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Being bored's not a bad thing. People think it's like a bad thing. It's not. It's a way to be creative or mindful or whatever.
Oh yeah. I think space.
With a phone,
So I think that's what it is too. Okay, so when you're talking, right, one thing that came up, which is this like, it is content overload, said as we add more content into the sphere.
Watch our content about content overload.
More content. So I think you've gotten to a point where like everyone thinks their opinion matters. So then they're like, no, I need to write a post about that. And then they're like, wow, everyone needs to see what I'm doing. So then there's like, let me add a story about that. Honestly, I've done all of these things. Okay. I too am contributing to the content ecosystem. So then I think we have so much out there, right? Yes. So revertables, fun fact, I used to be like that. I didn't do it in all caps though, but I was like, y'all need to hear this from my heart. I need to post it. And then there's like one day I was like, I think I just need a journal. So I think we need to find other outlets that are not oh yes. We needed to find other outlets that are not social media. And I think social media has just become the catch-all for everything, when actually it's reminding us like we need third spaces, we need parks, we need places for people to just have discussions. Like, would you be posting this on social if you could like just share this elsewhere, you know? There's one day recently on TikTok, it was like, hey y'all, get ready with me while I just do my makeup. And my grandmother's been really sick and in the hospital. And I was like, girl, do we need makeup content pre you going to the hospital for your grandmother? Like, ma'am, just go see your grandmother. But she was like, no, this is another angle. We need makeup content at the intersection of my sick grandmother. Like,
no, we don't. We really don't.
I don't know. So I think we need bring back friendship first and foremost.
Brent is the thing that is her coping.
I guess. But maybe cope with your friend, not the internet. So we need to bring back friendships. We need to bring back like just community, and
people are just looking for validation.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
that's true too. And then also bring back friend. Okay, these are okay. Well, somewhat.
Zuckerberg just said that we all want 15 friends and have 3, and that's why everyone's on Facebook. So
yes. So okay, maybe not friends, because clearly y'all don't think it's yes. Bring back journals. Bring back MySpace. Yes, bring in therapists. Yes. Also, bring in therapists, because I feel like going back into people are looking for validation. I feel like we all just needed an extra hug from our parents. So now we're on social media being like, listen to me. So then you got a little sprinkle of that. Yeah, bring back MySpace. We just also I just feel like we need to invite more outlets, right? Like we need to invite more outlets for creativity. I also think you shouldn't assume that work is the only place that you can be creative and show up. So I think we also need to like remove.
I've got a solution.
Okay, because you are a solution. So this is
for people. We need to make 1 day a week mandatory back in the office, and we need to make sure people are at least an hour away by bus. Right?
Ooh, the
hour
commute.
away by bus, commute on a bus or a train, but an hour away. No phones allowed.
Ooh.
Well, okay. My favorite thing about a commute when I had one was actually either listening to fun podcasts.
No phones allowed.
But that's when I would like call my
You
friends.
Gotta people watch. You gotta people watch. It's when you
just gotta stare out the window. I love it.
Yeah, go look at a tree or a leaf or something.
A what?
A tree. You look at something so simple that it causes you to kind of reflect on like whatever.
We also don't need to be optimizing. So I think that's not lick a tree, man. You just take it to 100. Take it to 100 revertables. Gosh, like we said, look at a tree, and you're like, no, I need to action. So like I think even this aspect of like we've seen what's so possible. So it's like we're constantly optimizing. Optimize this, optimize that. Like I honestly feel for parents in this generation, because it's like the internet's like, okay, do this, get this specific thing for your kid. Also, you're a horrible parent because you didn't follow these 15 steps of how to be a good parent. And it's like kids are so like resilient. Mm-hmm. They probably need a quarter of the things that you try to invite for them. Like my favorite is when you'll get a kid a nice shiny toy and then they're playing with like
the box,
a scrunchie or a box, and I'm like, do you know what I went through for this? And they're like, no, I don't really care.
I don't care. Yeah.
Not optimize your patient. But yeah, I do think there is an opportunity as we are experiencing new levels of technology. You know what it is? Okay. All right, so many thoughts. So I think you came on here, Paul, and you know, the AI avatar. And I think some people might see like AI avatar, let's get more now let's get more work. Now we freed up our people so they can go do more, rather than like, how can we tap in deeper, right? Like, how can we maybe go a little, you know?
I have a serious thought.
Okay. Whoa. Right.
I know. So a lot of people are kind of worried about AI, and that's valid for sure, right? Is there a lot of hype? Yes. AI isn't everything they're out there is telling you it is, right? We're actually reaching a point in LLMs where there is no more improvement, right? We're very much almost at the ceiling, in fact, and they're worried. The OpenAI and all the others like Tropicon are all kind of worried because they realize LLMs aren't everything they say to be. They're just fantastic mirrors. If you get really in the guts of it, they're just like a really sophisticated search engine. That's it, right? It's just very good at mapping and pattern matching and so on. And that's all it knows. Unless you feed it context back, it doesn't know a thing, right? It can't do various things. There's this idea that we're going to replace coders. No, it's just not going to happen because vibe coding is all very well, but you don't know what you don't know, right? People who are trained know how to build things that are robust and scalable and secure and all that stuff, right? You can't just go to AI and say, hey, build me this app, but I want to deploy it in Namer and EMEA and APAC and, do all that for me. It doesn't happen, right? And it doesn't know how to either. It's just full of errors. Anyway, slightly digressing. My point is that we've been through times like this before as a species. The Industrial Revolution was one where, and I've got a great example in the UK, pre-milling factories used to be a very big cottage industry where people would spin and basically effectively mill thread themselves. And it was very labor intensive and kind of didn't produce very much. And so thread was, milling thread or whatever you want to call it. It was kind of expensive and not very standardized. Industrial Revolution comes along, we can start to automate it to an extent. We standardize it, it becomes incredibly cheap, but it causes all these people to lose their profession, right? Now that is a horrible thing that happened at the time, and there was even riots and so on. That you get these people like taking out these wool mills because they just hated the machines because of what that represented, and we're very much in that same space with AI because people don't really know, and we're being fed all this kind of crap, even from like OpenAI and some others. That's not real, What will happen is, will things change? Yes. Will there be more opportunity? Yes. There is, in fact, a potential for it to be an incredible productivity driver such that it actually can potentially create wealth. They think there's around $3 trillion worth just in the US alone that AI could create. I won't get into a talk about where that money might go. I think we're at a weird stage in time where if you've got the right mind for it and you want to take a chance, you could capture some of that, there is a lot of space there to come up with something really cool and really, really unique, So yeah, we're in a very weird time. Is everyone going to lose their job? No. That's my serious.
Yeah. That's awesome, Paul. Thank you for getting on that soapbox. That was a good talk. I actually really appreciated that. I agree just about 100% with all that. And I think on that note, we're gonna wrap it up for today. So, Paul, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a fun conversation. That AI demo is one of the better ones I've seen. I mean, it's so much fun. I can't wait to give me so many ideas. And so that's really the goal. So, chat, hopefully you got some inspiration and ideas from that too. Yeah.
I thank you so much, guys. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed this. That's
good.
Fun.
Yay!
Hey, that's what we want to hear.
No, I love that. What is it? I love that because you started off saying like, hey, like I usually, I usually am in front of customers, but not necessarily, doing this streaming. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that you just were like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So yeah, it'll be good. We definitely have to also ask the Twilio bot, what did we talk about today? That's become a nice wrap up for us. But yes, Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been awesome. And please feel free to kind of come back in the future. We will welcome you.
I'll have more mad ideas.
That's
This is great.
Every time you build a mad idea, you can even build it on here if you want.
Cool.
We do that too sometimes. Yeah, so you can try live coding. That's a whole nother beast, though. But
I'll do that for sure.
cool. We'll have you back to live code. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining us. Bianca, thanks for hanging out too. Always good every week, and we'll see you all again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Digital.
Yeah.
See ya.